Thank you for coming tonight. Remember last night, for those of you who are here, we looked at two ancient words for life, which were grace. I can see Gwen just it's on the tip of her tongue. She wants to, it didn't come. Grace and faith. Two powerful, wonderful words. Grace is undeserved favour. Because as we've been going through these series, we've discovered that when we really look in the mirror, it's not a pretty picture, is it? I mean, please don't ever put your faith in me. Please don't ever always think that you can rely on me, because unfortunately, I'm always going to let you down. I will try my hardest, but I will always let you down. And we always let God down. And that's why He gives us grace, undeserved favour. We don't deserve it, but He gives it to us. Even before we were born, He said, I am going to give Michael a chance, and I'm going to die for his sins. And I'm going to put my Spirit in him, even though he doesn't deserve it. And sometimes he doesn't want it. But as he asks, I will give to him, and I will transform his life to become like Jesus. But as a response, God can give all the grace He can give. It's just like at Christmas time, someone can give you all the presents nicely wrapped up under that tree, but unless you actually receive them and open them, they're useless, aren't they? I mean, that's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Christmas time, see presents, woo! I love it, I go for it. But with grace, we have to accept it by faith and believe that we are a new creation. I want to interview my wife this evening, which is always a bit of a scary prospect because she knows more about me than I know about her. But over the last 15, 16, 17 years since I've known Karina, I have watched her change. Now, she probably could interview me and say, hey, you've watched me change a lot more. But I want her to share her story with you this morning, this evening, because her story will give you the hope that I hope that you'll be able to receive, to understand. Now, Karina, last night we were interviewing Simone, and she said she was born in Wahroonga. Now, that's where you were born too, weren't you? Wahroonga, Seventh-day Adventist Hospital.
Yeah,
and that means you're a New South Welshman, and I'm a Victorian, and we still get along together. That's wonderful. But you've grown up in a Christian home?
Yeah, I'm several generations Seventh-day Adventist, so yeah, I've grown up in a Christian home.
Wow. So therefore, you learned early on about Jesus and His love for you.
Yes, I learned about Jesus. It's only been, probably in the last 10 or 15 years that I've really got an understanding of His love for me.
Yeah, I remember when you were 17 years old, and we shouldn't really reminisce too much, and she was striking, just as beautiful as she is now. And so after a couple of years we got married, and you know, when you get married you learn so much about yourself. Those of you who have been married, you agree with me? Yeah, you learn that you're probably not as patient, not as caring, and not as understanding as you thought you were. They tell me when you have children you learn a lot more about yourself as well. Not quite there yet. But after a couple of years of marriage, when our marriage wasn't just going too well, I remember that you went and saw a counsellor. Would you like to just share a little bit about that and what you actually learned?
I went to a counsellor because I could tell something wasn't right. Sorry, what's Keith saying?
I'll give another microphone.
Is that better? Can you hear me? Yeah. I went to a counsellor because I could tell there was something missing inside me. I felt there was something that needed fixing, and so I thought, I'll go and see a counsellor, maybe they can help me. And it was during the course of counselling, one of the books that he got me to read was Love is a Choice. And when I got to the part on abuse, they had listed there 5 different types of abuse, and when I checked them, each one was me. And it was then that I realised that what had happened to me as a child wasn't right, and that I'd been abused, and it was just like my whole world fell apart.
Your whole world fell apart. Just describe that a little bit. I mean, it's more of a cliche. What does it mean when your whole world falls apart?
Basically, I was in a black hole that I couldn't get out of. So I see it as my first breakdown. I wasn't with it. I wasn't emotionally available. I wasn't physically there, really. I was in a whole other world. I felt like I was in this black hole that I couldn't climb out of, that this darkness was just surrounding me and I couldn't see any light.
You said that you were a Christian. Now, you're in this black hole. You're a Christian, you believe in Jesus, but where was he through this time?
I know he was there, and he was the reason that brought me through it. I think when he was the most real to me was during the time of my second breakdown, when I'd been on antidepressants. They hadn't worked. I had to go off them, and so I was going through withdrawals, and I had this unimaginable fear, total fear, and it was like this blackness pressing in on me, and I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't sleep, and there was no relief, and the things I had tried in the past to get away from that fear just weren't working anymore. And finally, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I just said, Lord, I just can't do it anymore. If you are there, you're going to have to do something, because everything I've done, I've tried, doesn't work. So please give me peace. And it was amazing. A peace just came over me, and I fell asleep. And I was finally able to sleep that night. And that is the time when I think God really became real for me.
Wow. And you were, I think, in the mid-20s, late 20s?
Early 20s.
Early 20s. My memory isn't so good. My wife is my memory. And, to think it takes so long to actually, for you to experience Jesus really real in your life. Now, you said you had one breakdown, you had 2 breakdowns. Were there any more breakdowns? Thank God for that. You're talking about being in a black hole, depressed, on antidepressants, you couldn't function properly, and yet here we see you today. I mean, most of you up there, how many of you would come up the front and talk in front of everyone? Yeah, there's a couple there. I might get you on that. But it's scary to do that. So obviously there's been a huge change from that second breakdown to where you are now, so that you're actually able to talk about what has gone on in your life. How did you get to that stage? What were the things that got you there?
A whole lot of prayer, counselling, and I think one of the things that helped me a lot is after having counselling, and I was growing and it was slow, but eventually I got to a point where I was still feeling panicky and everything, and I got the pastor to come and visit me, and he suggested anointing. And so about 4 years ago, I was anointed, and he said to me, after, when you're anointed, you then have to take a step of faith. And so you have to move out of your comfort zone. And by this time, I'd become a bit like a hermit in my house, and I didn't like to venture out too far or beyond that safe environment. And he said, no, now you have to believe that you are healed and take that step. And while it was a bit scary at first, just little bit by little bit, I said, all right, God, you've got to go with me. And we started taking steps into the unknown. And so it was only with God that I could get to where I am. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So asking you now, in 2008, have you got there yet? Have you got to a place where the things of the past, what you've gone through, does not affect you anymore, that you're just full on for God and nothing scares you, everything is fine?
I'd like to be able to say yes. I'm not there yet, no. But I have come a long way, and a lot of things that used to scare me don't scare me anymore. There are still things where I hesitate a little bit, but because I'm aware of what I've been through, and I'm aware of that it's fear that's holding me back, and that's a silly thing, I push past that and give things a go. And I know with God beside me that it will be a lot easier.
So this is your life here right now. This is your life way back then in that deep dark hole. Tell me, would you swap it?
It's an interesting question that you